Hello, guys. You all doing good? This is an incredibly cool interview I did with Joe Perry back on 5/8/1987. I'd flown up to Vancouver when they were working on the Permanent Vacation record, which was sort of their comeback album, and spent a lot of time with Joe, driving in the car, hanging out at the studio there. And I think it's an amazing interview. It also became a cover story in Guitar World and was actually the last cover story I ever did for Guitar World. So good and bad memories, but great interview. Check out Joe Perry. Bye.
Is it running?
Yeah.
Cool.
The thing we're talking about before, that you weren't quite sure where Aerosmith fit in the, in terms of what Van Halen was doing and the new stuff. And I mean, did you think a lot about that when you were putting the music together?
I suppose we thought about it, but all we could do was write the stuff that made us feel good,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, because when you've been out of the wind as long as we have, so to speak, you just sort of you listen to what's going on the radio and stuff, and I don't know. There's been a lot of bands that come out and they kind of look like us a little bit. They take pieces of this and pieces of that, and some people I guess picked up on some of the things that we never even knew we had.
Mm-hmm.
But we just flailed along through the '70s and we didn't know what was going on. We just knew we excited a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if we ever really put a finger on why. I think that we have in the past few years. But I think that we just sort of sat down and started playing music the way we liked it. I'm sure that there's people that have this image of what Aerosmith music is like, like a heavy metal band and all that stuff, and it's really not. It's rock and roll. There are very few songs that I would consider heavy metal in any of the albums that we did. So
if somebody called you a heavy metal guitarist, that wouldn't be correct.
I guess not. I play loud like a lot of other people, but a lot of the heavy metal players. But I don't think that I'm a heavy metal guitar player.
I think the attitude is kind of a heavy metal attitude.
Yeah.
It's undisciplined.
Yeah.
Would you agree with something like that?
Yeah, I would say that for sure.
Beck once called himself the original punk, but I think that you might be one of those guys too,
Well,
not meant in a derogatory sense.
No,
at
that's
all.
definitely half of my style is my attitude.
Exactly.
That's what I don't have in technique. I make up for in attitude.
The thing that the editor of the magazine was talking about, he says, Perry has, the way he stands, the way he holds a cigarette, it's perfect, it's true.
Well, we've been working on it for years, Huh.
What was it like getting back together for Mirrors? Had the band, been together previous to that? Had it come together at all before that? Or?
We did a tour in '84, the summer of '84. And it was great to get out there and play all the old tunes with the band and stuff, and find our places again. But the album didn't feel like it gelled to me. It felt good at the time, and it felt like we were writing again together, and somehow it sort of missed stride, looking back at it. I know that we were happy with it at the time, but looking back at it, it just didn't click. I don't go back and play it, you know what I mean? All the other records, I'll go back and play Toys in the Attic every once in a while, but I don't play the last Aerosmith record. And there's some good tunes on there, but I don't know. We had to do that record. I can't say that we should have done this one then. I suppose that for a lot of people we should have, but we had to go through what we did to find our spaces again.
Right. What was Ted like?
Well, I think he had an idea in his head that it was going to be, what an Aerosmith record should sound like, and just turn the switches on and let us do it. And it takes more than that, he's coming from a place where he worked with Van Halen for all those years. I mean, he's done a lot of other things, but for the kind of, for this rock and roll stuff we're talking about, that was his baby from the start. Just the way Jack Douglas was for us. I mean, he started off engineering the records, and then he was producing them. And he grew with us. And I think it was the same with Ted and Van Halen. And just to jump from that into our scene, especially when we were just trying to find out where we were at,
Right.
Like what really made a good Aerosmith record, we don't know. We hadn't done one together for 4 years, for 5 years, so we weren't able to tell anybody else how to do it. We just talked about, like, well, Jack did this and Jack did that, and we did this and we did that. So all the intentions were at best, I think,
Were you happy with your guitar on it? The sound of the guitar?
At the time, but no.
No?
Not now, I was so caught up in the writing and stuff, and and it just didn't seem to gel for me. I definitely felt more then that we were competing with the more modern rockers, you know what I mean? So, like, we missed it, because we're definitely not that kind of band. So it just didn't seem to, it didn't seem to gel.
Going back a bit before that, I mean, what happened to the band, and what didn't work after all those years?
As far as
as far as you leaving, and then the other guitar players, and just.
Well, I think that there was just a lot of frustration about. It just got too easy to say, well, we're going to cancel the session because the parts aren't right, or we're going to cancel the session, or we're going to write for a week in the studio, and just stop everything, or we're going to take a month off and go on the road. That kind of stuff, just sort of, instead of us putting our heads together and going, look, maybe we should just take 12 months off completely and stop. Nobody do anything. Just chill out. I mean, it was a long run all through all those years, and maybe that's what we should have done, but I don't think we were in the right place head-wise to pull ourselves back from it. We didn't know what to do, so there was a lot of anxiety and a lot of blaming the other members of the bands instead of each one of us looking at ourselves and going, "Listen, we've got to put the brakes on here." And me going, I got all these songs and the album isn't ready. I'm going to go and do a solo record. The hell with you guys, And there was all other stuff. There was like management problems that had just finally come to a head, and just all that other stuff. And we just needed to get away from it. And I think that if we were in a more mature place, we probably would have just taken a year off, But it was like, fuck you, I'm going to do a solo record, and they were going, well, fuck you, we'll just get some more guitar players, But and it took Done With Mirrors to get it into the right place. We knew we could make the music because we went out and toured and had a great tour that summer.
It felt good again?
Yeah. But, you can only do all the songs so often, so the new writing it with Done With Mirrors, it just didn't, we weren't secure in ourselves yet, to write Aerosmith music again, So.
I mean, do you think in a sense you were a little, I don't know the word, afraid of coming back after really not being together and putting it out there and having it not happen? I mean, after once being there, or...
I don't know, probably not as much as it does now. I mean, we've had a lot of confidence about it, and but not enough in the right places, I guess. I mean, we've always been, ballsy and fuck you to the world because that's how we muscled our way through in the beginning,
Yeah.
And we had a lot of that, but I don't think it was directed in the right way. I think it is.
Yeah.
So we really got secure again in our ability to make ourselves happy. That really started to feel good. Well, it actually didn't start to feel good till the second week of Basics here for me. I was walking around just going, oh man, it ain't working. But it started to happen.
Yeah.
It was a long winter writing different stuff and hammering stuff into the ground and getting it you know, I mean, we had a lot of different ideas, you know, and I think we're just getting close to it on this record.
Yeah. So I mean, this is probably, I mean, like the most diverse record you've probably ever made.
Yeah, like I was saying before, there's like, we always like to try different things, you know, because there are different roots and different attitudes, and Steven's harmonies, and you know, he's doing harmonies and stuff and singing on this record that he would never have attempted before, just because people said, well, you can't do that.
Right.
And we're going, well, we can do it. And why? Because we can, you know. So he's doing stuff like that. We're playing some funk that we've never played before. That just, we've gotten more in tune with that, you know. Everybody's playing is better. And just focused. It's like, when we did Walk This Way, we sort of felt like, well, we're going to make it funky, but we can't get too funky. You know, but like on this one, it's like, yeah, we can, and why not? And with Hangman Jury, to play that kind of blues, that blues feel, because I was walking around for 3 days asking the producer and asking this one and that one, hey Bruce, what kind of music is this? What do you call it? You know, I just want to know from my own head. And then he's going, well, what do you mean? Is it going to get played on the R&B station? No, that's not what it is at all. I want to know for my own self. What do you call this? Do you call this country and western, or country? And we figured it's somewhere in the vicinity of Delta, something or other, you know. And but anyway, we've been able to go in and play that and really not be afraid to do it, you know, because it makes us feel good.
Yeah, that stuff sounds great.
Well, I'm glad you like it.
I mean, it sounds real. I mean, I don't know the right word. There was something on Done with Mirrors that, I don't know.
I think
maybe in not trying too hard, you tried too hard. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there, but, you know.
I think we did try to fit into a niche that we thought that everybody wanted us to be in, you know. And it's like, so we pulled on a couple of resources that we have, and they just didn't, you know, we really didn't sink down to like what really made our original stuff happen, because we did what we wanted to do. It felt good, you know. If I don't play that kind of West Coast via I don't know where Yngwie's from, but that kind of guitar style, if I don't play that, I don't care, because it's not what I'm about, you know. And if that's what, I know that's, I mean, I'm really fascinated by that style, and I like to hear it, and I like to listen to it, but for me, it lacks something, you know. I mean, Eddie plays with as much soul as any of those people, you know. But it's still, I mean, I like the blues stuff, you know, the blues feel, you know.
So you sit down and listen to Beck before you listen to George Lynch?
Well, both. I mean, I have all the tapes. I just listen to them. I like Eric Johnson for a new guy plays some fucking amazing blues style. Come Beck, you know, that kind of stuff. And of course Stevie Ray Vaughan. I'll listen to him as fast as I listen to anybody. You know.
And you're good friends with Warren, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, as good a friend as you can be, coming from two different coasts and both being on the road, and you know. And I love his style too. He's really, really hot.
I mean, have you ever sat down with him and said, Warren, how do you do this? I mean, has it ever gotten that?
I've never gotten the time to do it, but I know that I'm going to. You know, like one of these days when we can get together. It was like, you know, the last time he was in Boston, he was off playing a gig, and I was like, in the middle of that one day, had business meetings all day, you know, out of 2 weeks that I don't have to do fuck all, you know. It's like, but yeah, I want to sit down with him and ask him some stuff, you know.
I mean, can you sense your influence in Warren?
Maybe an attitude.
But
not in his playing. I mean, he's out there. He's great, you know.
But I mean, yeah, his attitude. I mean, even the way he stands, you know, the way he holds his head, and a little that comes out in his playing. I mean, no one could sit down and say, "Oh, I hear Joe Perry and Warren DeMartini."
No, yeah, I don't think there is. Maybe, but again, attitude. But then I don't have a very clear picture of myself, what I look like or do or anything like that. So it would be hard for me to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I know other people have come up and said, you know, that. I know that I go through the same thing with Steven, because he doesn't. Well, I'll say that guy, you know, he's ripping you off there, and Steven will go, what's he doing? You know, what is it about him that he's doing? And then we'll, you know, mention a few things, and he'll see it. But I know that he doesn't picture himself the same way that other people do, you know. it's like when we were like in the '70s, people saw Aerosmith and they picked out some of the things that like we were unable to see about ourselves. You know, they would see, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, dynamics is something that not many bands have picked up on, but say Steven's clothes, that a lot of people picked up on only dresses, that kind of stuff. That's the most obvious, you know. And to Steven, that's just such a part of him, he doesn't even think of it, you know.
Yeah. I mean, would you sit down and practice 10 hours a day to get that technique down, to get the right hand hammer stuff and the real slick vibrato bar stuff? I mean,
I attempt it, you know. I spend some time doing it. I go through spurts of it, you know. I ask Brad a lot, because Brad does that.
He does.
He'll spend that time and do it. And I'll start asking about scales and, you know, some practice and things. But inevitably, I find myself going back to the old positions that I used. But you know, like that stuff does open up some new areas for me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I know that I would have there's a couple of riffs that I wouldn't have written if I hadn't learned a few scales. You know, because it just stretches things out. But it comes back with the old feel. So, you know.
Isn't there one of the songs I couldn't tell? It sounds like you did just some real simple hammer stuff in one of the solo bits.
Brad, that was Brad.
Oh, it was Brad.
Yeah.
It's Brad.
Yeah. So he's happening, you know. Brad's playing amazing these days, you know.
I mean, is Brad as much a lead guitar player as you?
Oh yeah, at least, you know.
Do you think that he? I mean, he doesn't get the focus that you do, though.
Well, I think he's going to come into his own. You know what I mean? It went live. Like he plays great leads and stuff. You know, which is great because you know that's his forte, is playing that kind of technique stuff. You know, and I'm just as happy to play rhythm behind it because you know that's the beat for me. You know, it's the tempos and the cooks and stuff. And the riffs too that write that are around the songs. I mean, that's where I really express myself, you know.
It is.
Like in ragtime, that's all just right from my soul, you know.
I mean, is that just sitting down and just kind of just starting to play around and just like there's something and...
To the click track, I mean, that was like no thought at all. I mean, that was like just feeling good and going for it. If I'm not feeling good, I mean, I spend as much time getting my head in the right place as anything, is playing scales, you know, because it's... I mean, that's just as important for me to get in that place, you know, so that I feel cool, you know, feel good, you know.
That's an important part of your songwriting?
Yeah. And then if the music I'm writing makes me feel good and adds the fucking icing on the cake, then I know I'm happening, you know.
You mentioned click track. Have you always worked with a click track?
Well, Rhythm Machine or something like that, you know. Or Joey sitting down and playing a really cool beat, or Steven playing something on the drums, or sticking something on a rhythm machine, you know.
I mean, because your rhythm playing is like such a big part of your style. You know? I mean, your rhythm playing, I think, is maybe overlooked by some people.
Well, there aren't too many rhythm players out there that, you know, the flash and all that stuff. The pyrotechnics get all the press, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, Angus wouldn't play the way he plays if he didn't have his brother there beating on that thing, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Do you think a big part of why you play is because there is a second guitar player?
Oh, yeah.
You think your style is developed around a second guitar player?
I always think about what Brad is going to, or just leaving places for Brad to add to it, you know what I mean, and the stuff that I do, you know.
Can you talk at all about how you play rhythm guitar? I mean, is there a certain way that you strum? Are there things that you do? Are there certain kinds of voicings that you use in your chords? I mean, I can always recognize Joe Perry chords.
I use a lot of open strings.
A lot of open strings?
You know, and three or four note chords, three or four string chords, you know, instead of playing the full chords. And I listen to the drums, you know.
Really?
And watch what the hi-hat's doing and the snare drum, you know, and seeing what's going to be the, you know, the twos and the fours and the pushes and stuff, you know. I'm trying to think of an example.
I mean, take a song like Back in the Saddle or Walk This Way. They're real rhythmic songs. I mean,
Well, those definitely are planned around a rhythm. You know, Back in the Saddle, I wrote the bass riff with just the click track in my head. I wrote the 6-string bass part just because I wanted to play 6-string bass, so I got to have a song to go with this. So that was like, you know, I had the rhythm in my head that it needed. But Walk This Way, I wanted to get that tempo down, you know, and we played around that.
that was so great.
That was another one that just came off. I wrote the riff to that at a sound check in Hawaii. You know,
Really?
just coming off the beach and just feeling great, and just knocking it off. You know.
What were your feelings when Run DMC did it?
I was amazed. You know, it was such a great show going on when we were recording it, and I mean, they're so young, and it's like well, I remember how it was the first time I was in the studio, but they were the first couple albums, you know what I mean? And they're really self-assured and stuff, but their focus wasn't on the track. It was really funny because they were worried about, one of them had a rent-a-car stolen. So we had flown in from Philly, I guess, and then we had to fly out to Charlotte or something like that, and we had like 6 hours to do this. And they're flipping out. They wanted to go home and take care of the car because they were afraid of getting arrested, you know. And the manager's going, listen, we got these guys for 6 hours. You can buy another car, you know. No, we got to go and take care of this business, man. You know, I really respect them for wanting to take care of business because I would have said, just fuck the car, you know. They got to catch me before they can take me away. And I'm out of here. But still, it was fun. And, you know, like we walked in and all they had a drum machine on there and the guy was scratching, you know, and we, you know, and it was great doing it, you know, a whole different angle to the song.
So you redid all the guitar parts?
Yeah. No, we did all no, we didn't even do them. There was nothing on there. You know, we walked in and there was doom, 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 and that was it. So we just played the song, I played bass on it, and rhythm and lead. And Stephen went out and scat sang it, you know. It was great. And we had no idea it was going to turn into what it did. It was like the last song they were cutting for their record.
Really?
And it came out so good that it went on to do what it did. But
yeah.
it was like, it was a fluke when it started as far as I was concerned. I just loved doing it, you know, because rap is fresh and punky, and it's fucking.
You liked it?
I liked it. Yeah.
You liked the idea?
Oh yeah. I wouldn't have gone and done it if it didn't sound like a great idea.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, you want to go and do it? Yeah, it'd be cool.
And then they asked you to be in the video?
Yeah. And that was a great video too.
It was.
It was really enjoyable. It was like if I had seen somebody else do it, you know, I would have liked it. You know, and I was just glad to be part of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know.
That's cool when you stick your head through a wall. The look is so classic.
That was fun.
So good. Yeah. I had heard, and obviously it's not true, that Rick Rubin was going to produce the Aerosmith album.
But we talked to him about it.
Really?
In fact, we cut a demo with him up in thanks, man, up in Boston. But at that point, we didn't have any songs written, and we had a song that we didn't even work up for this last record that he went and did. And we weren't ready at that point to even talk about producers, much less, you know, we didn't have the tunes ready, our heads weren't in the right place, and I mean, if we had the tunes that we had now, maybe it would have worked out, but it just didn't work out. Yeah, we talked to him because we really liked him. We had a real fresh attitude, you know. And
I mean, that combination would have been so interesting.
yeah, we were gonna pursue that, but it just wasn't the right time.
So how did you get Bruce?
John Kolodner, was the A&R guy from Geffen. Actually, he wanted us to work with Bruce the last album, and then we did some talking with him when we were on the road about cutting some tunes for a movie soundtrack. So we talked to him a couple of times on the phone, and then this time, John said, "Look, let's give it a try with him." So we talked with him. He came out to Boston a few times. He rolled up his sleeves, and we liked his attitude.
Really?
Yeah.
he was willing to work.
Yeah. I mean, you heard stuff in some of our tunes that I thought would be throwaways, you know, back burner stuff. It turned out to be front burner stuff.
Really? I mean, had what he done with Bon Jovi sway you at all? Just in terms of the success that he had.
I don't know, maybe. I suppose it did, but it was far more important the way we got along with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was good, but, you know, Bon Jovi's another animal, you know,
Right.
so
Right.
it was important that he was successful. I mean, if he was like just in the hole in the wall up here and not having done anything, it would.
Right.
I mean, he's had his share of flops too, but none that I can think of in the near past.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, did he help at all with your guitar sounds, or did he suggest things, or was that pretty much you having met together?
Well, there's one tune with let's see, Angel. Remember Angel?
Mhm.
The guitar solo at the beginning, the intro. He thought about putting that octave on there,
Mm-hmm.
which was, you know, was cool. As far as the sounds go, you know, I wanted a lot cleaner, drier sound this time out, you know, than trying to go for the heavy metal type. A lot of distortion and big, you know, there's a couple places we use that, you know, for more for an effect, but as opposed to using that sound all the way through the record, you know, getting a full-blown humbucker with, you know, the Marshalls turned to 10. I wanted to use a telly, you know,
Really?
like thin, more clanky sound, you know, a little cleaner, and he liked that, you know.
So that was really like going opposite to what most of the other guys out there were going
Yeah. You know, because it definitely made the rhythms that I was playing stand out more,
Mhm.
and it felt better to me.
for. Mm-hmm.
And I've just been getting more into that over the past couple of years.
Really?
You know, I mean, I've played the Gibsons and all that stuff until, you know, full blast all the time. Especially with what Brad's playing, it really they complement each other. The two guitars can be playing the same riff, and they sound like two guitars.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
there isn't any distinction sometimes. It's hard. Sometimes it can really get in the way when you have two guitar players. You know,
I can imagine.
and I think we're really getting into a pocket. You know.
Is that coming from those new guitars that you've been using? Those Guilds and...
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I wanted to get a sound like that. You know, we started to get back to the old Marshalls, but I still, like in the last tour, I started using the Guild, and I think they call it T250. It's the Telecaster, and the one that I was playing was like real clean, very kind of low output, you know. But you know, you put it through a Marshall and crank it up, and it's real clean. It sounds great, and then I was talking to the guys from Guild, and they had, you know, about amps, because, you know, they've been laying these great guitars on us, and I told them I wanted something that sounded like really clean, and I knew that they were talking to the people from High Watt, and I tried the High Watt out, didn't like it, and they pulled out this Bedrock amp, and it was like, it was amazing, because we had a whole bunch of old Marshalls, and we wanted something cleaner, and this Bedrock either sounds like a thick Marshall, or it can sound like a twin,
Really?
you know, or a dual Showman, and put it in on the clean setting and crank it, and the thing sounds amazing. And so we haven't stopped playing through those since we first got them, and that was about 4 months ago. And that's really helped with the sound. I mean, if you can imagine the coolest Marshall you ever played through, and then you can just get one off the rack.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like that. A new amp that sounds like that every time you turn it on. Because we've had our ins and outs with Mesa Boogie too. I mean, we bought a whole bunch of those, and we tried them, and we got them tuned in just right for the last record. We plugged them in up in San Francisco, and they sounded like shit. We would have to sit around for another 6 hours every time we plug in a different guitar. If I take my 6-string bass and plug it in, I can use the same settings almost with the Bedrock amps. So it's been a really good find.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have to go rummaging around to find an old Fender anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we're excited about them.
You take us out on the road?
We're going to take them out this year. You know, the first test was to see if they'd hold up in the studio. We brought all our old Marshalls and a bunch of other things, and we played every track with the Bedrocks.
Really?
You know, from the real clean Telecaster sounds that you hear to the to the raunched out stereo Charvel stuff that we use, like in the big chords in Angel. You know, everything, you can get it all from those amps.
You've always been pretty much a purist in your approach to guitars and amps. I mean, you haven't been like that. I mean, I know you use a lot of guitars live, but it's like usually like go in and plug in the amp and like.
Yeah, I mean, very few effects. If I use it, you know, I may use a little DDL or reverb when we go out again, but like, you know, I'll use a little bit of that stuff. Sometimes I'll have them put it on in the house, you know, in the house PA. But I pretty much go straight into the amp with as short a chord as possible. You know, for recording. Yeah.
Really, you can notice the difference?
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely when you're recording. But live, you take some, you know, you take some losses when you use wireless, you know.
Because I remember you, in fact, the last interview we did, I remember you just saying you didn't like wireless stuff at all.
Well, I like the freedom it gives you on stage, and you're not there just to play, but you're also there to put on a show. So you got to, you know, do the best you can. But as far as like recording and stuff like that, when we're playing in clubs when it really counts, I always use a short chord, you know.
Yeah. Do you use a certain kind of chord? Do you find one makes any difference?
Big thick ones. And we use a little bit of, you know, I use a rat pedal.
You do?
For distortion. But this amp gives everything, you know. I mean, you can hear the tubes ringing, you know. It's great.
You use wah-wah quite a bit. You've used wah-wah over the years.
Actually, it's been in the airbag.
Is it the airbag that does?
Yeah, I haven't used it. I don't think I've used the wah-wah pedal. I used it a little bit in the project. But mostly when on stage, when I've used it, it's been the airbag. You know, the voice bag, whatever people call it. I call it an airbag because it looks like you're blowing air into it, you know.
Yeah. Reeferhead Woman, was that a wah-wah?
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? I did use it on that.
Yeah. It sounds like sometimes you'll use the wah-wah just to like you know, like put it back so it's just cutting out, you know, it's getting like that.
Yeah, you get that boxy tone.
That boxy kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, when you go into when you went in to do Mirrors, I mean, were you conscious at all about your playing? I mean, coming back as the first album after a while, and I mean, did you?
Yeah, I think to the point it was inhibiting.
It was.
You know, I didn't free up. I mean, I played better on the project records, you know, and I just didn't. I mean, I really felt a lot of like we're in competition with, you know, some of the other guitarists out there, and you are, but you got to play what you're best at, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Looking back at the Joe Perry records, the solo records, I mean, do they hold up for you?
The first two do. First two do. And yeah, I listened to those. I mean, those are good records for me. You know, I had a good time making them. I had good people playing on them. The third one, there's some good songs on there, but you know, the band was. You know, we had a lot of good times together, and that's mainly why that band was together. You know, I really liked to play in clubs, and I really liked to party, and that's what the band was all about. You know, and we did some I think some really good tunes. You know, but at that point, I really wasn't focusing on, you know, big picture of what was going on out there, what people thought about what I was doing. I really didn't give a shit. I mean, I had a great time with that band, touring the country and, you know, playing small clubs and stuff. But, you know, in the end, I got tired of it.
Did you, in the back of your mind, was there a thought that Aerosmith would get back together?
Not so much Aerosmith would get back together, but maybe that Stephen and I would start talking again, you know. And after that happened, it was a kind of a natural progression. But, you know, there were times when we'd run into each other and talk and stuff, or be on the phone with each other. And yeah, I knew we were going to do it again. I didn't know when, and if you'd asked me then, I would have said no.
Yeah. Would you mind talking about some of the specific tracks on some of the albums?
No problem.
I can have some things from back. I mean, you talk about that you looking back at the guitar sounds on Mirrors that you weren't happy with them. I thought in general they were much bigger than the guitar sounds you had gotten before.
Yeah.
A little more modern sounding, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like attempting to go for that. You know that.
Well, I think that like one of the things that really was so simple. I realized that we used to listen to our mixes so big in the studio, so loud that everything sounded big. Everything was huge. We put it on the little speaker to see how it would come out of a car stereo. And that would be once through. But to sit down and like really listen on small speakers, because if it sounds big down there, like in the '70s, it's like, turn up the monitors. Let's see if we can scare the record guys out of here. If it's not loud enough, they're not cringing. They're not, kicking the Westlegs. So you'd listen to the tracks on the threshold of pain after 3 days on blow, and it sounded huge. So. But now it's like we're definitely into more tone. I think we've gotten more tone on this record, and the last one was we played more full out and listened down to it. But we were really loud in the '70s. It was like, and so the sound suffered. I mean, it was like kind of squashed a lot, and processed.
Yeah, because Toby had been mentioning that like you're sacrificing volume now for tone.
Yeah.
He says that's a big change in Joe Perry.
Yeah.
I can hear. Like the stuff on this record. There's like so many different textures I can hear in it. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it was just the type of music that you were playing on the earlier records that you were able to get that kind of a tone and it just worked so well. And maybe it just couldn't translate into 1986 or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but. I felt like a song like Gypsy Boots. To me, it sounded like there was a lot of energy going on there.
Yeah.
We
tried to, but still, it was missing a funk to it. You know what I mean? It was for me. Like when it didn't feel good to play it live, then there was something wrong with it.
Really?
So Well, the thing is, when we go out, we're gonna be, we'll use 3 stacks each. The band is definitely still loud on stage, but there's more of an eye to the tone.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I use different guitars so much, because I get my tone like that.
Mm-hmm.
I look for a good amp which I've found in the bedrock that, it's a good translator. That's what I look for in an amp.
Mm-hmm.
Something that, obviously it'll give it some sound itself, as it goes through it, but, I want an amp that's like really, really translates the sound of a good guitar, whether it's a Strat or like that Gretsch I've fallen in love with. That has so much tone, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I remember it used to be, which guitar had the most output, check out these DiMarzio super outputs. That's great, but there's not a lot of tone there,
Right. And Toby told me for a while you were into black guitars.
Yeah, well, I still am, but sometimes you can't get the best tone out of every black guitar there is,
Right.
I have a good collection of black guitars.
I know that you switched between like Strats and Les Paul types.
Yeah.
Did it require you to play any differently? Did it require a different approach at all?
I think that whenever I play a guitar with a vibrato on it, I think of it differently, even though I might not touch the vibrato bar. I know maybe because I know it's there, so I play things in a different place. Maybe with more open strings.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just thinking of it, but I haven't played my Les Paul for a while, so. But if I go for a guitar with a solid bridge, it's usually the kind of Telecaster, that kind of guitar. And that's probably the only difference.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I think of the bar and where I would use it, whether I use it or not.
Mm-hmm. The bar has never been like a real big part of what you do, has it? You use it, but not like a Van Halen would use it, or Warren, or or.
Though I've done some, I used to do stuff in this. I used to make a lot of noise with them and have a great time.
Yeah, you did. Sheila wasn't there like a lot of that kind of stuff on there?
Yeah, there was, but like in the earlier days, I spent a lot of time trying to make a locking bridge. I had a workbench with the old, a fender neck and a fender vibrato arm and the whole thing with the machine screws, trying to figure out how to do that. And
really?
I haven't had a bounty out to all the guitar makers and stuff. I said, hey, I'll give you $2,000 on top if anything else just to, if somebody can bring me a locking bridge.
Really?
You know, this was in 1975. And, you know, I just said, fuck it, it ain't gonna happen. I just gotta find the Strat that works and keep it, you know. And then, you know, down the road, you know, Floyd Rose and those guys came in.
But you use Kahlers.
Yeah.
Is there a reason?
Well, it's probably the first one I used and got comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems to fit a little better. I mean, the thing about the Floyd Rose, it just seemed kind of hunky to me, you know. And it just got in my way. But, you know, it's just a matter of taste. I mean, they all have their good points and their bad points. Guild is supposed to be coming out with a new one. It's different. It's basically like a Fender, I guess, but it's been like all like scoped out and machined, and it's supposed to be really good. That's the one thing I like about the old Fenders is they have more sustain and more tone.
Yeah.
That the other ones don't have.
Yeah. I mean, when you listen to people like Warren or George Lynch or any of those guys using vibrato, does it inspire you at all or intrigue you to go sit down and work out stuff with it, or with you is it more of just a natural kind of a...
Well, sometimes I'll try and learn something they've done, you know, but
you're not subtle with it, is what I'm trying to say. It's more of
an effect.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You know. Yeah, that's all. I mean, I think it's great what they do with it. It's fantastic, man. Rick did that in 1975.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the tour with when the Jan Hammer group, you know, it was Jan Hammer and Jeff, and they were just doing instrumentals, and he did stuff on there that I don't think anybody's touched. You know, I mean, he and Jan would do these trade-offs with him on the synth and Jeff on his Strat, and you couldn't tell the difference. And they would bend notes like from here to forever. That was inspiring. It was really hard to go and follow that man, I'll tell you.
Is that the tour when Jeff came up and jammed with you?
Yeah.
In Anaheim?
Yeah, that was it. That was great.
That was a pretty hot moment for you, I imagine.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding? I can remember seeing him like in 1970 or something, we're playing at the Boston Tea Party, you know, just going over and shaking his hand. That was 1968 when I went to you say, you know, just after being blown away. And then we got 7 years later, and he's playing on the same bill with us.
Did you ask him to come up and play?
Yeah. I've been asking him all tour. You know, there's about 30 dates, you know. But finally, he was standing on stage. He'd come up on stage and watch us, you know. He's probably watching the girls in the front row. But he came up, and his guitar roadie brought his guitar up right behind him, and he just sort of stood there, and Jeff turned around because he wasn't going to get trapped, and he came up. It was great.
Were you nervous?
Yeah. Well, actually, I'd gotten pretty used to having him stand there and watch him, but still, it was pretty amazing. I didn't want to play, really. I just wanted to stand there and let him play.
And I guess he knew the tune, huh?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Did you have a chance at any time during the tour to actually sit down with them and, you know, really jam with them or have them show you anything? Just deal with them?
We played a couple of times, you know. Because I've gone to some of his shows too when they come through Boston. I've seen every band, you know, a couple of times. And watch him play in the dressing room.
I mean, was he your biggest influence?
I would say, you know, like practically speaking, I followed his career a lot, watched what he was doing. And, you know, I've been influenced by everybody, but, you know, again, I don't think there's anything I do that you could compare to what he does, but definitely his attitude, you know, very, very impressive.
Yeah, impressive. I mean, was Aerosmith in any way fashioned after the Yardbirds in terms of the two guitars? I mean, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I would think so. I would definitely think so, because we played a lot of Yardbirds stuff, and we just liked where they were coming from, and just sort of modernizing the blues and stuff. And like when the band first got together, we definitely liked. I think of any band, the Yardbirds was the band that, you know, I thought was the coolest.
Yeah.
I mean, we liked the Stones and stuff, and we liked the Beatles, and then Tom Hamilton and I were really into a lot of the English bands. But the one band that we all thought was happening, you know, because they had a sense of melody and a sense of pop music and stuff, and still they had the blues roots,
Right.
you know. And that was the thing I liked about it. And they had crazy guitar players, you know.
Yeah. I mean, were you a fan of that English pop stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, Traffic and Procol Harum or that kind of stuff at all? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we like to listen to it, but we liked a lot of it. The stuff that really got us off was the Yardbirds.
Yeah.
You know, I think that version of Stroll On, from the Blow Up, the movie Blow Up, that still gives me goosebumps. Those two guitars are coming in with the feedback. It's great.
It's pretty heavy.
And it takes a lot to give me goosebumps these days. Fuck of a lot.
Yeah, that was pretty extraordinary. Was keyboard something that just never fit into the realm of Aerosmith, or was it a conscious thing, or just not using keyboards?
Well, a lot of the stuff it didn't work, but you know, like if you go back, you'll see that a lot of the stuff did come from keyboards because Stephen wrote some keyboards.
There were, Hammonds or anything.
But there's some background stuff on some of the songs, you know. But to actually base a rock and roll song around keyboards just wasn't in the cards for us. Because, like I said, Stephen wrote the stuff that Stephen writes is, you know, the more ballady type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he'll play the piano on that, but you know, the rock and roll and the funk, you know, just guitars.
Mm-hmm. And you are using some synthesizers on the new record.
Yeah.
And that is the first time.
I'm not sure if we used any last album, but I don't really consider the last album a contender for the conversation. So, yeah, this is the first time, I guess. You know, I think we used I remember using an English guitar synthesizer and on rocks and a couple of things, a couple
Really?
of background things. I couldn't even name them right now, but I remember fooling around with it.
That's not Rats in the Cellar, is it?
No.
Was that a Leslie on the guitar?
Yeah. I don't even remember. I just remember fucking around with it in the studio.
Yeah.
So we've experimented as far back as that, but I think this is the first album that we've actually said, okay, we're going to use it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Actually even using an emulator for a couple of things.
Do you?
Yeah. But then we used a Mellotron on all the strings that you hear. It's on Mellotron.
Yeah.
All that old English stuff.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned a DX7 was on there?
Yeah. We used a DX7 on the last album, too. As a, just as piano and stuff.
Oh, for the piano sounds.
Yeah. But that plunk metal thing on Dude Looks Like a Lady is the DX7.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you're using a guitar synthesizer in this record?
Yeah. Roland. Just for a couple of string things.
Yeah. Does that interest you at all? I mean, is that...
I used it all in the last, let me see. I used one in the last tour for a couple of things like in Lightning Strikes and, just for a couple of effects. But really nothing major. I like the guitar sounds too much,
Yeah.
So I use it like there's a couple of sound effects I use it on this record and some strings on the movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, we use other stuff for that too.
I mean, tunings are a big part of, I think, of what you do.
Yeah.
Different tunings and things, Did that come at all from Page or anything like that? Or the tunings you used to use, or I'm just...
Not so much Page as listening to Ry Cooder and
Really?
Keith.
Yeah.
Uses different tunings. And I just found it really easy to write songs around different tunings like that, open chords and playing riffs like that. This record, about 5 of the tunes I did with the E string tuned to a D, which isn't like a real major tuning, but, a lot of the riffs are based around that.
Really? And you play the whole you don't play solos with a tune like that, do you?
No. No, I don't think. I think the only time I've done that is when I play slide.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of play with a different tuning, and just knock off a slide solo like that.
Can you play slide in regular tuning as well?
Yeah.
Is one more difficult than the other?
I think playing it with regular tuning is harder because you have to use more muffling and you can't be quite as free.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, you played slide from the very beginning, aren't you?
Yeah.
Did that come from listening to Barracuda or something like that?
Well, in the very beginning, it was mostly, I guess, listening to Jeff Beck, and then
Right.
I don't remember what probably listening to just the old blues records and tuning it up and listening to those guys, Elmore James and whatever. Actually playing the slide guitar like that. And nobody I knew, I didn't know anybody that played that. I just knew it heard it on the records, you know. And then I was really hard pressed to find anybody popular that played slide. And Jeff was the only one, you know.
Yeah.
But then to go on and write songs about it. I guess after hearing that Keith did it, then I figured, then I guess there's somebody else out there that does this, you know. Started incorporating it into more writing.
What kind of a slide do you use?
I'm just a metal Ernie ball. Fits on my third finger.
Your slide playing is real bluesy.
Yeah.
It's real rootsy kind of sounding.
I guess it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the way you play slide. It's real sounding. You know?
This is the first album too that I've really played that kind of thing. You know, I mean, there's a little bit of it on Hangman Jury, and
yeah, I think that's great.
And on Ragtime, I don't know what we're gonna call that song, but
I think Ragtime's a great title.
Yeah, I think so too. But let's see what comes of that. And the song sounds like Ragtime too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, that's the other one. That's the lap steel. Rickenbacker the lap steel.
Right.
It's got that great sustain.
Yeah. You mentioned that song was sort of an extension rhythmically of Walk This Way.
Well, it's kind of in the same category, I would say. You know, that same kind of laid back, funky, almost like a meter song.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing.
Right.
I mean, I wasn't thinking about Walk This Way when I wrote it. You know, it just happened that I was up at Jim Valence's house when we were working on Keyhole. Rape Key Baby with the wrong keyhole. I guess I don't know what they're gonna call it, but anyway, you can sort that out in the mix. Anyway, I was just playing that, and he came up with the bass line, you know, the main riff, and that just came off like that. He put a pattern down on his drum machine, and 15 minutes later it was a song.
Right.
And then Stephen came in and scattered a vocal on it. It was great. So that was real fast, but the feel to it is like just classic. It's the kind of riff that it feels to me like I've heard it a million times, but it's like I can't put my finger on where or when. So
those are the great kinds of songs.
Yeah.
I think that's like Walk This Way or Back in the Saddle. They have like that. There's something about Sweet Emotion melodically for me has that kind of a feel. You know, just that kind of a timeless thing. Just going back to the Night in the Ruts album. What happened to Jack Douglas?
Well, I think he got burned out like I did. I mean, I was like, we did the basic tracks in about, I don't know, we worked on it up in Boston. We came down and did the basic tracks in about a month, you know, and then we sat around and tried to write lyrics for it for another month. Then we had to go out on the road. Or we're just getting bored. We went out on the road for the summer, and it was like getting so stretched out that I'm not sure if Jack went on to do another project or what, but it was like, I think he just got burned out on it. Because I know he was together enough to go out and when we did my solo record, you know, like after that, even before Night in the Ruts was done, my solo record was almost finished. So, I don't know, I think we just got fed up. And I think that's what happened. But the basic tracks, and, you know, Stephen did sing about 3/4 of it, or half of it, you know, and I guess he just wasn't happy with the rest of it, and it took a long time. But the basic tracks and all the leads and stuff were all done live, and there's some amazing playing on that stuff. I think that's a really underrated record. Is it for an Aerosmith record? Like Chiquita.
Yeah, I got that. Such an interesting song. It's like...
Yeah. I mean, that was definitely designed for two guitars with the rhythm starting the way it did. You know, like the anvils going back and forth.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff was... And we did 3 Mile Smile, and Bone to Bone was something that was like, that's just a killer groove, you know. And the one that I liked the most, well, aside from Walking in the Sand, which I think was our first delve into that kind of a tune, which came out great. It blows me away every time I listen to it.
It's such a great song. It sounds like what it sounds like. It's like it's not an Aerosmith song. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
You know.
I think another time in another place it would have been a big single.
Definitely.
You know. But those were the doldrum days of radio. You know, I mean, 79, 80, it was like the pits then, and then we weren't out there playing our best, and Van Halen was starting to make their move, and they were doing great, and it was a different kind of sound, and it just wasn't the time. But Cheesecake was a song that I think is one of the best performances of the band, and because I just remember it was amazing doing that, because I did it all live, all the leads on there, and the slide.
Really?
The pedal steel, the lap steel. I did this with that guitar that there strung on my back, and with a volume pedal. And then when it went to the double time, I just took the volume pedal off and played the guitar parts, and then of course it dropped back down to the half time. And then I just put that guitar down and played the lap steel and brought it up and played that solo, and then it whips off into the other thing, and Brad's playing lead, and the whole thing is live, live in the studio. And if we didn't get it, we did the whole thing again. It took about 5 takes to get that right. But we got it, and we got, like especially with the slide lead, it's really, I don't really plan on what I'm going to do. I sort of know where my fingers are going to go, but if I don't hit it just right, it blows the thing, So that was like really major for me, And Think About It was another tune that went down live. That was like another thing that really didn't get. I think if it came out now, I think people would kind of freak out. There's some stuff in there that I did with a DDL, like switching the channels. I have the DDL this is in 1978. Brad and I had built, and you pressed a button and it changed the presets. Now you can buy them for $500, but we had somebody research and do it.
Huh.
So that they took the memory section of an MXR and rebuild it so that we had 3 different presets, and I had this thing like oscillating like a machine gun. When I listen to Stevie Stevens now, he does it cleaner and stuff with his, when he does that kind of thing like that. But if you listen to Think About It, that's on there. It's happening live. It's like,
that's great.
Shit we used to do.
That's great. And the solo on Walking in the Sand, I was something real different for you. It was real lyrical. Real
the melody type stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it was like going, well, because I always liked what Jeff did. That's kind of something that he does. He does a theme. He's like, his roots are in the Ventures too. You know what I mean? It's kind of like playing a melody, and that was like the first time I did something like that,
So you normally don't think like that. You think.
Well, I try to, you know what I mean, but I just want to flail. But like that's one that it really came out like that.
Yeah. It's great. It's really good.
I'm trying to think if there's another tune I did that with. On some of the more melodic songs, I'll try and do that,
Moving back to Draw the Line. Talking about what you did with the DDL and stuff on Critical Mass. There's at the end of it, we reverse the tape and stuff. Do you like doing stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
Like about in the studio and.
Oh yeah. That's where it's all at. I love doing like real tape flanging.
With the real.
With the 2 machines and all that. We'll do some more of that on this tape. And we'll do backwards things on this album. That's why I'm enjoying this record, because Bruce isn't afraid to try that stuff. There's so many things we did on those early records that, just holdovers to try from the 60s. Just all that stuff. Like moving the tape speed and, things like that to get flanging.
Really?
It's great.
Yeah, it is great. It's great. Get It Up has some really interesting guitar sounds. Can you describe what those are?
With this 6-string bass open tuned. There's such stuff on. We went crazy when we did that record. We were in the Senecal era, and we lived in the same building that we were recording the record, so we would just stay up all night and all day and all night and laying stuff down. The outtakes from that place are ridiculous. I mean, excess to the max.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. And you're singing lead on Bright Light Fright?
Yeah.
Is that the only song you ever sang lead on?
On the Aerosmith record,
Aerosmith,
yeah. I mean, I sung on other songs, but more Steven, like a duet kind of thing, you know, just to make it a little more palatable for the radio. But
do you sing a lot of the harmony parts in the records?
I'd say some, you know, Steven sings. Yeah, I get in there, you know. I mean, basically what I would sing live, you know. But you know, most of the high harmonies and stuff Steven does.
Yeah.
Because he's just got a 8-octave
yeah.
voice, you know. He's got that range.
Yeah. Sight for Sore Eyes was a great song. That was a real vibrato bar kind of thing. That was good.
That was a great record too. I enjoyed that. It was a little spaced out in it, you know, because that took about 6 months to do.
Really?
I remember Jack going from city to city on our European tour, carrying the tapes. We did some overdubs in London, and we did overdubs. I mean, he checked out every studio and every place, and I don't know, we were just lazy. We didn't show up for half the sessions, but it took a long time to get that.
Yeah, that was good. And Rock's Back in the Saddle was written on the 6-string bass.
Yeah.
That was such a good song.
It was different to hear 6-string bass, you know.
God, that was so good. I mean, it was really like, I don't know, to take an instrument like that wasn't to be used like that at all and use it like that, you know, it's like...
I'm trying to figure out why they put a guitar like that together, because I haven't heard anybody use one. Doesn't I think Lone Justice uses one on that song. They had a single a while ago that was, I think they used a 6-string bass.
I don't really know.
It's the only time I've ever heard one used. I think Jack Bruce used one, didn't he, at one point?
That's right.
Kind of like that SG body that I had.
Yeah.
Either right. That or Dan Electro or something. But
no, I think it was a
Gibson.
God, I don't remember. I've seen pictures with it. I thought it was a Fender. Wasn't it painted all psychedelic? Not Clapton's guitar. I thought he had one that's painted all like that too.
Could be. I've never seen him do it, or I've seen pictures.
I think on some of his solo stuff. I don't know if Cream ever used it. He may have.
I just heard somebody mention, like, I can hear it in the past somewhere. Jack Bruce used to use one, but I never heard of it. You know.
Toys in the Attic for me was kind of. I thought it reached like a new level in terms of the songwriting and the guitar sounds and just the scope of the band. I mean, would you agree with something like that?
I think that we were just starting to get into our stride and realize that we could do some of the stuff we wanted. The first and second album. First album, we played the material that we had worked up in clubs and it had gone down real well.
That was a live set?
Yeah, basically. You know, I mean, we just left out the Yardbird songs, you know. So, then the second record, we were just starting. Stephen and I, when we did Same Old Song and Dance, we realized we could write together and write something that was pretty cool, you know.
Yeah, that was great.
And then the next thing was to play some rock and roll and to keep doing it, you know.
Yeah.
And started to realize that it didn't have to be something I wasn't to write these songs, you know. I mean, I started to realize that I could play some stuff that I liked and it seemed to go over. I mean, it worked. It fooled them. I mean, I was getting off on it all this time. And, I mean, there was a time when I first met Steven, I didn't know anything about writing. I learned a lot from him about that. And, you know, I know he's learned a lot from me about free and rock and roll and that stuff. Being free, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it opened up some new doors. We opened up doors for each other.
Yeah.
You know. And then of course the other guys always sticking in their 2 cents. It just gave us a platform to keep on going, to keep moving the stuff along. So Toys in the Attic definitely, that blows my mind sometimes when I listen to those songs.
Yeah.
And I think about how unschooled we were in music and unschooled in anything, you know. I mean, we were just barely getting our studio words, our studio legs, you know. So, yeah, it was pretty good for us.
Yeah. I mean, stuff like on Uncle Salty, And the guitar sound was like real.
Tom played guitar on that too.
Really?
Yeah, you wrote that. Uncle Salty.
And Adam's Apple?
Yeah.
It's good. It's a real metal sound.
Yeah.
I mean, for want of a better description. Yeah. I go out this way, obviously. I don't know. I guess for someone on the outside looking at what you do, I don't mean to be so objective about things, but just I sat down and listened to every song and every solo, before I came here, and just listening to it. You can just really hear it. For a lot of bands, their first album is a lot of times their best record, and with you guys, no offense intended, it wasn't. I thought the songs in the second, third, and fourth records were infinitely better than All the Dream On. Was great.
Yeah, well,
it
took a while for us to get our stride. And also you got to remember that that stuff was written in 1970, 1971. It was recorded in 1972. I think we did the first record on a 16-track machine.
Really?
Big fucking knobs and the thing. It was one step ahead of. It was really archaic back then. We didn't know how to get sounds in the studio. We didn't even know. We just thought you'd just get Marshalls, and we couldn't even afford Marshalls when we did the first record.
Like, what were you using?
I think we were using Ampegs. Actually, we did have some cool Marshalls at that point, but they got stolen from us.
Really?
From our rehearsal studio. So we were just touching on it, you know what I mean?
Do you think that first record captured what the band was, though?
Yeah, I think it did. I think that we tried to... I think that if we didn't have this picture in our minds that this is how you're supposed to sound when you play in the studio, that the album would probably be a lot freer sounding and a lot more like what some of our live stuff sounds like now, because that's how we used to play in the clubs. But instead it was like, well, we got to get this sound down and tight, and we got to get these parts down and tight, and everything's got to be just so. And so the record sounds like that. It's tight and pin neat, and practice these parts to death. Like live it was drink and be merry and play hard, And just so tight and so afraid of making mistakes and blowing a take so that everybody else looking at you is so weird, It's like, all that stuff you have to learn. It's like, we were like completely frozen by the red light blues. It's funny, we were talking about Jeff Beck. I was in New York doing some press, I was standing at the Meridian, and he comes walking and he's doing some press about his record, and sitting there talking about being in the studio and how he gets uptight when the red light goes on, and it's like a standard thing for all musicians that, when the light goes on, a certain amount of your inhibitions are there, or go up, and everybody has, battles with it, some more successful than others, and, we were just completely, the red light was on big time in this first couple of records.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm doing a take now, it's like, oh man, I made it this far without fucking up at all. The song you played 1,000,000 times in rehearsal, but like as soon as you start thinking that, well, I'm gonna have to punch it in. I'm not afraid of blowing a take anymore, but I don't want to have to go back and punch in a mistake, punch out a mistake.
Yeah. When you go in to do a solo, do you psych yourself up in any way to do it, or do you go in? Do you have an idea of what you're going to play before you go in to do something, or that's just kind of?
Well, sometimes I'll sit around and think. Not very often, but I'll sit down and think about where it's going to be. Basically, I just try and get a good tone, and a different tone than I'm used to using, and then if my head's in the right place, I'll go for it. See if I can get some reaction out of the producer. A good reaction. Or a bad reaction, but some reaction.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the kind of tone you look for in a solo? Is there like a Joe Perry tone that,
No, it's all in the attitude. That like the solo in You're My Angel, that really clean, that is the tone I wanted, a really clean 5-position switch in the 4th position, volume a little bit back.
Right.
That really clean tone is what I wanted to get for that, the tone in the lead in the front just got a little octave on the top, and it's pretty dirty. The tone that I used for the for the lead in Once Is Enough. That, you know, I did that one live. It's just a straight rock and roll Telecaster turned all the way up, you know. I don't know, maybe you can see that it's me playing all the way through. I hope so, but, you know, it's more like what fits.
Yeah. So there are no, there's no typical Joe Perry run or riff or a certain lick that Joe Perry does all the time. There's so, I mean, I can't really hear him. There's an attitude there, and there's a feel, and there's something rhythmic that happens, but there's no like blues scale that I hear. Oh, that's
no, I don't think there is. I know there isn't, as a matter of fact.
Are you aware of scales and things like that?
Yeah, I know they're there. I don't really play anything like that, I guess. I just play with my basic, I was saying before, like as much as I'll try and learn a new scale or something like that, or practice it. I was, you know, I've been playing that same kind of style for so long. My hands naturally just go to that place, you know, and I try and bend the stuff around there. But, you know, try and open it up a little bit.
I mean, some things that you always do. You do play a lot of stuff on two strings, like like you'll bend two strings, like a, not sort of like the Hendrix kind of stuff, you know. Or, I mean, was that just something that developed, or was it?
It's easy to play, I guess. You know, it just naturally comes out.
Yeah.
Because I'll sit there and like if I know I got a lead to do on keyhole coming up, what I'll do is I'll just sit down and play some scales and actually exercises, you know, some chromatic exercises just to get stretched out and warmed up. And I'll go for a good tone in the studio, whether it's like in the control room or out by the amp, and get something like really that feels good. And you know, if I'm in the right mood, it'll happen. If I'm not, I won't even try. You know. That's never happened, but you know, I haven't had to call it. But actually, yeah, this album I haven't. There was one day I didn't feel like doing it, so I didn't. But I can usually get myself into a place for it.
Can you talk at all about how you pick? I mean, is there anything special that you do, or the way you hold a pick? Or I mean, it sounds like you pick very hard. You know,
yeah.
Toby was telling me you use like an extra heavy pick.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds like you really.
I'll get on it, you know, because that's where you get a lot of tone, you know, it's like, especially when you're using guitars that, like a Gretsch or a Telly, where so much of the tone is, you know, just how high the strings are vibrating, you know. Yeah, you go down on it. I'll do, you know, double strokes and stuff like that. But like the rhythm on Dude Looks Like a Lady, I used, you know, just by plucking the strings without a pick, you know.
Oh, really?
So.
Do you do much of that?
Once in a while live I'll play like that, but not too often. You know, I just wanted to go for that kind of sound on that track. You know.
Can you finger pick?
Not that well. I mean, I do a little bit because I play pedal steel, so I've been practicing that. I don't play it well enough. I may put a track of that on this record, but I don't really think I play it well enough to sit down and jam or anything like that. I mean, I can play it to fit.
Yeah.
But when I'm playing lap steel, I kind of finger pick a little bit, you know. It's really basic stuff. I gotta remember when I basically started my playing, there were no rock and roll videotapes. There were no, I mean, basically the only way to learn rock and roll is if somebody else in town, you know, knew, you know, had sat down before you and learned something off a record, you know. But to go in fact, I remember having one or two lessons from a kid in town who could play, and you know, and even he wanted to teach me. Jesus Christ, you know, I don't know, wedding marches and stuff. I mean, it was like to find some. You know, I'd take out a Chuck Berry record and say, "Well, I want to play this," you know, and they would go, "Sure, but you got to learn Yellowbird." You know what I mean? You got to learn, and I just didn't see the connection. You know what I mean? I just didn't see, because I could already play half of that stuff anyway, and I just wanted to. So, you know, in the early or the late '60s, it was like, you know. Jesus, it was even before that. You know, just when the Beatles were coming around. I mean, to actually learn anything, you really just had to listen to the records. So, I mean, scales and learning that stuff, I to go right to rock and roll, you just learned it from the records,
Right.
and there wasn't anybody around to really teach you how the scale is going to happen
Right.
and go into this. And so, it comes from a very unschooled place, I mean, I would go to see in 68, 69, 70, I'd go to see, Jeff Beck and watch his fingers, and I'd go to see, so like you learned rock and roll licks, blues rock and roll licks, or I did, You'd watch Page when they'd come through town, and you really didn't get a chance to sit down and have them show you anything, because it just didn't work that way.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I mean, guys now have Edward and Warren and these guys. A, to listen to, and B, they have the videos, and C, they have the books. You're right. It's a totally new generation, much different.
I think it's really good. I think it's great that it's opened up like that, and there isn't like a lot of, I mean, to get any kind of like really, I mean, you can get training in rock and roll playing, and if you can take it any way you want. You can just go back to playing the blues if you want, or you can, it's a good foundation to get. And I would say to anybody to get some schooling, in that.
In one respect, I suppose it is good to have the schooling, but I don't think a lot of these guys could go backwards and play. They couldn't play Clapton solo. I really don't know that if they're capable of backpedaling like that. I think they've learned so much that I don't know if they could play that stuff and make it sound real.
It's a matter of wanting to play like that, because then you start to learn phrasing and like less is more and that kind of stuff.
But that's definitely not the standard of today's player, though.
No,
less is more. And that's what bothers me about a lot of those guys. I mean, I could not tell you the difference between any 30 or 40 of those guys. But if you put on one of your records, I could tell you, and Beck I could pull out instantly.
Yeah.
I mean, a few of those guys, maybe Warren or George, I'm not sure, Jakey Lee, a few of the guys who really got it, Edward obviously, but the other guys, I don't know. It leaves me a little cold, actually. The technique is wonderful, but there's not a whole lot of attitude there.
That's probably why I get a lot of it just washes over me, and I just sort of, again, coming out of the project and coming into Aerosmith, it was like, like so much happening, because I felt like I was underground for at least a year and a half, and then just coming out and seeing what's on the radio and what people are doing and stuff, it was like so overwhelming. But now I really have a lot more, confidence in what's going on here in this band. I mean, I appreciate everything that's going on up there and all those people playing that stuff. But again, a lot of it just washes away. There's just a few that rise to the top. Like any style in any era.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, you did feel like there were these new guys that all of a sudden developed this technique, and you were aware of it.
Oh yeah. I still haven't heard any of them play the blues. Not that any of them want to play the blues, you know what I mean? But it's a handy thing to have in your pocket.
Listen, I don't want to burn you out on this. We're about, I don't know, half hour, 40 minutes away.
Sure.
If you'd like to, I mean, we could finish tomorrow, or we could finish now. I don't want to burn you out because it's like going really good.
Yeah.
So if you feel comfortable,
we can go on for a while.
Can you give me like another half hour?
Sure.
All right. I mean, over the years, have you developed more of a knowledge of how to use both guitars? In terms of using you and Brad, I mean, working.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, was there ever a point where you actually sat down and actually worked out real parts? I always felt like it was like whatever was natural would fall into like a guy's lap, and he'd kind of play that. But I mean, I might be all wrong on that.
Yeah, it did. I think that we're starting to. Like, we never really sat down and talked about sometimes we do. Yeah, well, you do this here and you'll do that there. But mostly it was like, okay, Brad can take the solo, or I'll take this solo, And even then it was like whoever came up with the riff of the song usually got to play the solo on it, Because, or if a song didn't interest me that much, in some records I didn't even play on the tracks. I would just go, that's not my style, or,
Really?
Yeah, there's a couple of tunes like that.
Which ones?
I didn't. Jesus, there's a couple. I know on Draw the Line, there's at least 2 songs I didn't play on.
Really?
Lazy fuck. I didn't want to learn the fucking song. But I think there might be one or two others like that. But anyway, I was either too drunk to make the session or definitely too lazy. So there's other songs that, like Brad would come in and play just these different versions and it sound great, and it just sort of naturally progressed, I mean, I have to say this record is really, and I can see it just keep on getting better because our styles are starting to really start to find some places instead of both of us trying to play the same riff and one guy taking the lead while the other one's playing a rhythm, It's definitely like maybe it's because we're more aware, I mean, I listen to Brad more and more every year. You know what I mean? I'm just aware more of what he's doing. Just like I'm more aware of everything else that's going on in the band. It's like, because I know for a couple of years, I mean, we're just so caught up in the energy and what's going on, and just go, I know Brad's doing a great job over there. He's cranking out his 130 dB. We're fucking killing him. So, I mean, from that to where we're at, it's like I'm really aware of where his fingers are, and what he's doing,
Yeah. Excuse me for my stupidity. Was there a second guitar player in the Joe Perry band?
No.
It was just you, right?
Well, for the second formation of it, Charlie Ferrin played a lot of rhythm guitar, in addition to his singing. So it's the closest we can. I mean, he used to play at most of the shows.
I mean, was it different going out and just being the sole guitar player?
It's funny. During the first project, the first version, I never even thought about it. A couple of times I'd go, wait a second, there's no other instrument on stage but me. I mean, there's no other guitar. There's nothing else going on because I was just so into playing the tunes and I'd catch myself going, yeah, there's nobody on the other side there, kicking in a rhythm. And I listened back to the tapes and then realized that, there wasn't anything else going on but the bass and the guitar. But Charlie was Charlie's a great bass player. And the drummer was really good, Ronnie Stewart. So, it took me a while to get used to it. I'm not even sure if I I didn't really change my style. I probably just turned up a lot. I used a lot of open strings in my playing, and it really sounded full.
Weren't you ever one of those guys who ever wanted to put together like a power trio or something after seeing Cream and Hendrix?
Well, the band I had before I was with Aerosmith, it just was me and Tom and a drummer, So we were a power trio, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah. What was that called?
It was called the Jam Band.
The Jam Band?
But then I had a band, that was my band I had in the summer, and then in the winter I had a band from the guys around town near Boston, and I had a keyboard player who played B3.
Really?
And that was we played all different kinds of tunes with that band.
All Deep Purple stuff?
Deep Purple
really?
And Spencer Davis, things like that.
I mean, were you in like a lot of bands before Aerosmith?
Well, I just basically, I mean, yeah, I kicked around in a couple of bands, but basically I had this one band that I played with in my hometown in Hopedale, and we used to play the town hall and a couple of clubs and high school dances. And then in the summer I had the band with Tom, because my family would move to New Hampshire, and I'd hang around up there, and then slowly it went from just having fun and playing Yardbirds and venture stuff to jamming around and making a few bucks in a little club, and then getting up with Steve. After about 4 summers or 3 summers of that, we, Steven's band would come up to play, and then we got together. It's funny because this song "I'm Down," Steven had come to hear my band, and we were like pretty loud and raucous, and we used to play MC5 and some old Fleetwood Mac blues stuff, and some Jeff Beck tunes. We'd attempt it anyway in our own style. It was just pretty loud. So anyway, we did. He came up, and I guess he was auditioning. Somebody had sent him he said, they said send an audition tape, So we played "I'm Down." We backed him up. I don't know
Really?
where that tape is, but
Wow.
you know, it was our first time we were recording too. My first time. You know, and Steven just needed a hard rock band, I guess, to do it. I guess his other guys weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get the gig. I don't know if it was because of the band or, but that was the first time we recorded. It was "I'm Down."
Full circle now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
full spiral.
Did you do other Beatles tunes in those days?
Not then. I couldn't. Nobody could sing that stuff. I mean, I couldn't sing.
Yeah. I mean, were you like were you a tough guy in high school? I mean, were you,
He was more a loner than anything.
Really?
You know, never got hassled by anybody. I held my own, but I kept to myself.
I don't know, because the pose the way I used to always see was this. He struck me as kind of a tough guy, like he wouldn't really go up and talk to this guy. You know?
I never had any problems with anybody in high school. I mean, I always got along with everybody. But I never hung around with anybody. So, but I know, and after, I mean, we really had to be pretty tough to make it. You know, with Aerosmith, and I suppose I developed that because you get pushed around a lot in the fucking clubs and stuff. You know, drinking, and you have to develop a certain attitude.
Yeah. I mean, even the press weren't real kind to you in the early days.
I wasn't too kind to the press either. I didn't have much regard for them.
Yeah.
We get pissed on a lot in Boston too. That really gave us an attitude, you know.
Boston?
In Boston, because we were from Boston, you know, and they never considered us a Boston band. I mean, it was like we didn't hang around in all the clubs in Boston. We didn't play in any of the clubs, and we weren't friends of Jay Giles, and we weren't. I mean, we were friends when we started gigging, and we saw them in airports, and they didn't. I was talking about the press. They didn't see us as one of them, because we were this young hotshot band that tried to look like Englishmen and play this heavy metal English music, and they won't play any of the local clubs, you know. We used to go out of town on the weekends and play high schools and colleges, and we'd rehearse all week instead of playing clubs and playing other people's music. And you know, where that leads to, you know, you don't play your own music because you beat after playing 5 sets a night. You don't want to rehearse all day. You know, and we just saw so many bands falling into that trap, and we wanted to play our own music. From the start, all we wanted to do was record. You know, I mean, everything we did was like, you know, we played gigs and we loved to play live, but, you know, we always had this idea we wanted to record, you know. We wanted to do our own music.
Did you do demos or things like that, like little
we
4-track stuff? Or?
Yeah, in fact, one of the things that helped us along a little bit, you know, just helped us with our own heads was we did, like, BCN played some of our stuff, you know, on the radio, demo.
Really?
You know, that little stuff like that like helped along. But then the local people really didn't think we were. I mean, there was James Montgomery, and there was other bands that Boston took to their hearts because they played all the clubs, and they, you know, came from that Cambridge kind of, grew out of that folk scene. They came out of there, blues folk scene. And, you know, Jake Giles used to open up for every band that came through, you know, and they really got good, you know. But that was all foreign to us. We just lived in Boston, it seems like, and that's kind of how the press looked at us.
Did they ever play like Dream On the radio?
Just a couple of times in those early days. And then what happened was we started playing around. People started requesting it, like, because we'd play for the kids out of town, you know, all the towns surrounding Boston, and, you know, not in the actual clubs. So we were playing to a lot more people, you know. We'd play like to 2,000 or 3,000 kids a lot, you know. You know, some outdoor parties and things like that. So people started requesting the song. Mainly we requested it. You know.
I mean, did you know it was a good song?
No.
It was just so different than everything else that you did.
Yeah, it was. We didn't know what was going on. We used to do stuff like, I remember playing a gig for Steve Paul and opening up for this one gig we did down in New York. And we opened up for Humble Pie and Edgar Winter. And we had a half an hour before each show to do our you know, third band on the bill, opening up Baby Bed, and we fucking sat down and played that song Major Barbara. It's on the live, that live record that was put out recently, a year ago. There's a song Major Barbara. It's it's a really weird sounding track, and we cut it on the first album. We never released it, and our managers put it on their last record. That last live record, Classics Live or something like that. And we sat down and we played that, and Steve Paul started yelling at us, not how good we did at the other things, just because we made it through, but you never sit down in front of an audience like that, rule number one, you stay on your feet. Anyway, we didn't know.
Yeah. Is that guitar part that you did on Dream On, was that like a first take kind of a thing? Like it just sounds like it was like you just did it and it just like happened. I don't know. It just sounds like it was like on the edge of not quite doing it, but it just like came out so perfect.
I can't remember if it was like, it was great, Joe. We'll keep it. And me going, great, thanks. I cringe every time I hear it, to be honest with you.
Do you really? I mean, the phrasing is so... It's so odd, but for some reason, I just think it's great. It's just got so much character to it.
Well, let's say it's winging it on character. Because I listen to it now, man. I was very young then when I did that.
How do you feel when you look back at the live album, the bootleg live album?
The bootleg live album? I like it. It's just another little piece of Aerosmith. Every time a piece of recording comes out, I look at it like the band is like a stream of water, and it's like just. So anyway, that's what I think.
So it's
just a piece of what the band is, or any performer, It's like we'll play these songs different even before we go on the road. If we were to take them and listen to them, the songs that we just did for this record, we'd play them different, with more attitude or something. I don't know, maybe not. There's a certain magic that happens right when you do it, But I know that the live record that we do that's going to have these songs on it, it's going to have another kind of feel to it, So that's what it is. It's like kind of what the band is about when it goes down. So the live bootleg was fun to do,
Do you turn into a different kind of a player when you play live?
Yeah, I think so. You take some of the riffs that you played on the studio recordings and try and update them a little bit. And some of the really cool ones are the ones you think are really cool. You go and play them live, and then you use the justification. Well, they want to hear this one. I know this is a trademark lick, so I know they want to hear it. And then the other ones that you just feel like going ape over, just fucking blowing over. You go, the lead I did on the record isn't that good, so it doesn't fit. So I just want to do it better tonight. I know I can. So you just play that game and dance back and forth. Make sure you put one thing on the song you did on the record.
Yeah.
Otherwise, make faces.
Yeah. I don't know. Just in talking to you, it sounds like you've grown up. I think you've definitely grown up musically in terms of what I heard in the record tonight.
Well, a lot of that stuff is stuff that I felt when I was really younger, and I just couldn't tap onto it, So it's like a lot of awareness is there that's just free,
Yeah.
That it just loosened up a lot of stuff. The place that I couldn't get to if I was drinking a lot, there was a while when it used to work for me, I could sit down and throw a few back, and it would just, the inhibitions would go.
Right.
But then, as you drink hard for a lot of years, it doesn't work the same, so then you got to learn to do it without it, and you find a place that's a lot freer than it ever was, when you're drinking. So that's been a big help too.
You mentioned earlier that you played a gig over here or something, and you had been drinking a little.
Yeah.
Nervous about it?
Yeah, well, that's one thing. It's always easy. Well, I need a drink to loosen up. I used that one for years, but it's like I've played straight before. Gone on stage when I couldn't find anything, or some place where it's a dry town. I've done it when I've had to. But the road crew has drunk all the beer, something like that. But In fact, 1984, back on the Saddle Tour, I did the whole tour without having a drink, you know, and it just, it just makes it easier to fucking play, and but this was the first time, though, because the whole band made a pact that we aren't gonna drink, we aren't gonna do any drugs, and over the winter we didn't do any gigs. The last gig we did was last summer in Boston, and since then we haven't played it all live, in front of a crowd. It's the longest I've ever gone, without doing it, not even jamming with anybody, and it was really neat to go up there and play, and the focus was amazing. I thought we were just walking through this stuff, and we were blowing them away. It was great, It felt great.
Yeah.
Steven's hitting notes he hasn't hit in years,
His voice sounds really good. That one ballad, the one
Angel.
it's like there's like a real texture to his voice that when a lot of the rock and roll things, it pushes. You can hear. I know what his voice is like, but when he really has to sing and really hit notes, and it's like the guy can really sing.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing. He can hit notes. It's like when he loosens up. It was funny because we were going. He was my throat. I don't feel like it tonight. I don't think I'm going to sing tonight. So later on, we go down to the club, and man, he was all over the place. He was scraping the ceiling. Are you kidding?
do you practice?
Yeah, I do. I try to put in some time every day to keep warm. So, sometimes more than others. If I want to learn a specific thing or keep loose, or like I've been really concentrating on playing without a pick, like this past year.
Playing without a pick?
Yeah, just to try it, because you can do some different things with it. And I spent a lot of time working with that, with an acoustic guitar. And I know it, and it just helped my technique with a pick too, because I'm rhythmic fingers. So yeah, I spent a lot of time doing that. If there's a specific thing, I'll work on it. Or
you have played a lot of acoustic guitar through the years.
Yeah.
Which is, to my mind, it's a totally different beast than electric guitar. So, guys that play electric, a lot of them cannot play, acoustic guitar. And I've always liked the way that you kind of mix like the electric and the acoustic. I thought Townsend did that really great with the Who. Like you'd hear like an acoustic guitar, but behind you'd hear like this huge electric guitar. It was great how you did that stuff.
Well, I don't know. It's pretty easy, I think. Getting it on,
But making it work in a band like Aerosmith, you don't really think of an acoustic guitar, but it's there a lot.
If I'm playing chords and stuff, I played the acoustic guitar for years and years before I got an electric.
You did?
So I know. It feels easy.
Did you ever go through any of that folk stuff at all? Or that ever?
I
don't think so.
Not really. Playing Bob Dylan songs is about as close as I ever got.
Yeah. You feel good about the new record?
Yeah, I have to say, I've listened back to it and I've started to laugh. It feels good.
Yeah.
Unlike the last record. It felt like the last record was pushed and forced, and this one just sliding off. It feels really good.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with the tunes. It really feels like an Aerosmith record to me.
Definitely. You think it's the best playing you've ever done? You think it's the most mature playing you've ever done?
Yeah, I think so, because I'm definitely going for the feel, and I'm trying to capitalize on everything I like about my playing. So definitely, I would say it's the best. I don't know, again, it's the best to date, definitely more focused on the tone, and Brad has turned me on to a lot of stuff, and because when I was out pounding the boards, playing clubs, he was doing a lot of session work and really getting into guitar, and it really shows, and I learned a lot from him about tone and stuff, Then I find out what I like about tone and working with that and texture.
Do you have any feelings about any of the other two guitar bands out there now? Any of the heavier bands, two guitar players, or any of the bands in general?
I really don't sit back and listen to them like in depth. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I just really don't. I mean, I listen to, I listen to like Warren's records, and I listen to, to just to see what's going on,
Mhm.
But I really don't sit down and get into it,
Mhm.
I mean, take and separate what everybody's doing.
Right.
It's basically I listen to the songs, and if somebody's technique jumps out at me, I listen to it and appreciate what they're doing.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know how they execute around the songs, because that's where I'm coming from, I guess. I mean, I know in the early days I used to think about songs are just a vehicle to solo over, but then, but then I've really gotten into the songs, what it's about and the rhythm and what makes you tap your foot, and then I realized that playing solos is just another way to disguise rhythm, you know what I mean? Just to make it more palatable, put another flavor on it to take you away, and I mean, there's soloists that they just use the rhythm for the vehicle
Right.
to solo to take you away.
Right.
But for me, it's the rhythm that does it,
Right.
And you put this other stuff in, it's just icing on the cake,
Yeah.
The thing is to lock into because like when you see your average kid out there, which I am as far as my ears and as far as what I like about music, they're getting into the rhythm. You know what I mean? It's like,
You mean somebody watching you, like a kid in the audience? You mean? Watching,
yeah, a kid in the audience. I mean,
tapping their foot, right?
if they're not tapping their foot, then they're, there's nobody in the audience. I mean, there's a few kids in the audience, but the audience as a whole reacts to a solid rhythm far more than anything else. Like a guitar solo. Like in one guitar solo as opposed to midnight. Like when just the guitars play. Yeah, they'll take them away if it's well constructed, or a drum solo, or some moves and dynamics is really good. But for a show, I mean, you gotta have the thing cooking. You gotta have them dancing, and that's what I used to get off on the most. I mean, I love the Beatles melodies and stuff, but inside I'm always doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where it's at for me.
I mean, where did this sense of rhythm come from? Was it just playing? I mean,
I don't know. I just started noticing my feet move, and my ass moving. I guess I don't know. I mean, it's sort of sitting back and realizing what it is about music that makes me get off, and watching what other people are getting off on.
Because I mean, the rhythm parts that you play are not really. A lot of them are not real simple rhythm parts to play. I mean, I think it takes a real kind of a strong right hand to play a lot of those things that you play.
I'm left-handed, so I don't know if that's that, but it's just I just feel that kind of thing. I mean, I write all the songs. 90% of the stuff I write, I start off with a rhythm.
You do.
I don't know.
I mean, have you had the burning desire to be the guitar hero?
Not really. I mean, just the flash and playing that stuff. I suppose if I did, I would have practiced a lot more. I'd practiced scales more and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I like to write songs,
Which I think is something that a lot of these guys aren't that aware of. There's a lot of good players who can't write. And I always thought this song was like the most important thing.
Well, I like to play some amount of flash, but I'm finding that it's not as important to me as some other stuff,
So what are the plans for the band? I mean, what?
Well, we do some videos this summer, which is another thing I'm not too keen on, but it looks like, I looked at my manager and John Kolodner the other day, because we're going, we're talking about the plans, and I said, tell me, videos is still a marketing tool, right? Still a viable marketing tool. Like, we're going to have to do them. I was hoping it would die off, but no such luck. So it looks like we're going to have to do some more videos. And
how many videos have you done? Not that many, have you?
No, not really. We did, one for the last record. I've done a couple with the project. This was before MTV came out. And, the band's done some filming for different things, for different, like, promo videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was late 70s. But I did a couple with a project, and I just don't like doing it. But we'll probably be doing a couple this summer, and we're going to hit the road for a long time, I hope.
Yeah.
We should be out for a while. The record's supposed to come out in August.
August.
And then, we'll do the States and Europe, and try and get over to Japan, try and hit Australia for the first time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, are you excited about getting back out there again?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I miss it a lot.
You do. It still has that attraction, and
yeah, I get really crazy if I'm in the same place for too long. And I just miss San Francisco, and I miss LA, and I miss Chicago, and I just want to get out there again and play.
Are there any titles for the album?
Thinking of calling it Permanent Vacation. I think that's as close to a title as we've got right now.
Yeah. Would that be one of the first singles and videos as well, do you think?
Jesus, I don't know. Permanent Vacation, the song, definitely has, I think it has potential to be a single, but it's kind of like, you give them 5 songs that, you think are going to be a single, and, the marketing, the promo guys sit around and mull it out,
Right.
They're the ones spending the money on it, so they're the ones that are going to pick it. The song, all the songs will find their level eventually,
Right.
I mean, I think that Permanent Vacation could be a single, because, I think it's a great hook and everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good.
We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
When you put it up against Angel, Angel is like, by the classic definition of single, Angel would be the one, but no one can really pick it,
Right. With music changing so much in the last 2, 3, 4 years, I mean, and this is kind of a rhetorical question because I know the answer, but there's still room for Aerosmith out there. I mean, it's a band that's existed almost in 3 different decades. I mean, not the 60s really, but you know what I mean? It's
roots are there for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Roots in the 60s, really making it 70s and here in the 80s.
Well, I think that if the music's happening, I mean, just look at how much, top 40 radio, or what the equivalent is for rock and roll. There's new music coming in and out, but you got guys like Stevie Winwood doing what they do, and Genesis, and bands like that, and then you got things like the Doors happening. You know what I mean? And kids hearing the Doors for the first time and getting off on it, and Jimi Hendrix is always coming up, and you always hear that on the radio. I mean, and influencing young people, not just the oldies stations, so to speak. The over 30s. There's Beatles records, and kids are getting hip to it. I mean, my 14-year-old listens to Led Zeppelin and goes, wow, look at Whitesnake, what they're doing. I mean,
it's unbelievable.
There you go. I mean, is there room for Aerosmith, or is there a place? Well, our stuff isn't as much of doesn't sound as 60s or as 70s as Whitesnake, but it's different, and it rocks.
Yeah.
So we're going to hammer another space. I mean, that's the stuff that we sound. I mean, we sounded different, and it rocks in the 70s too, compared to what was going on.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think that it is. I think that our sense of humor and our attitude is going to just crack a big space for us.
Yeah. Okay.
If not, we'll just have to suffer through it being on the road, because we're going to be out there, and there's plenty of people that like our show.
You still, you sell tickets regardless of what the records do. I mean, basically speaking.
Yeah, I mean, we can go out and sell out places, like we did in 1984, and we can do that. But we can sell a lot more tickets if we have a record out there, But that's the same with anybody. I'm sure there's a hardcore following out there that we go out without a record, or a record that doesn't do much, and we'll sell tickets.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a career with Aerosmith, whether this record sells or not, But I think that it's gonna. I think we're gonna turn some more people onto this, onto our music.
I don't know. In a way, I almost see it like what ZZ Top did. They kind of they had their following. They came out with what was their first record? Eliminator, or when I was, they kind of went to that next level.
Yeah.
They didn't lose anybody, but they just attracted a lot more people.
Yeah.
Look at them now. So we found this that record might do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not as commercial as Eliminator, that's for sure. But there are some. We've taken a couple of steps towards like with Keyhole. I mean, the song Keyhole. We're starting to like really have an ear about like pop stuff. Steven's like singing some melodies that are like from the '60s.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? But with a kind of heavier kind of riff under it.
Exactly. I was just talking to him in the other room, and he said, that he approached every song as if it were a single. That's what he told me. But yeah, I mean, it may not be as commercial as Eliminator, but for Aerosmith, and it's not a derogatory word. I mean, it's infinitely more commercial than the last records.
Yeah.
At least the last two in my mind.
Yeah.
But it's still more real Aerosmith. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's still. I don't know. We still play the same. We play pretty raunchy, but the thing is, it's we've still got an eye more towards the songs and the kind of songs we do best.
Right. Right.
Which is kind of like we lost sight of that over the past 3 or 4 records. You know what I mean? After Rocks, I felt that we started getting pretty self-indulgent too. You know what I mean?
I think so.
We can do whatever the fuck we want. And I don't think that our fans probably latched onto a lot of our stuff after. Hang on, like even Rocks. Not Rocks. Night in the Ruts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Good. Good.